It's nice out of here. It's so difficult to get good help these days. I was about to record this Mazda CX-30 here with the new Skyactiv engine, but my cameraman decided to delete all the footage we made. So yeah, not really sure what happened there, but let me show you. Where is it? I've already tested both the CX-30 as well as the Skyactiv X engine. And this is obviously a slightly different car, a bigger car than the Mazda 3. It's slightly less aerodynamic and so on. It's got only two-wheel drive though, this one. So I wonder how this will all work and whether it's going to disappoint me or not, like before. So if you've already seen my test of the CX-30, then you know my thoughts. I'm not a huge fan of the giant plastic on the side. And yes, I know this car is very dirty. That's why we'll also show you some footage from the previous test, because it's essentially the same car but with a different engine. However, it's that front. The front is really, really fantastic, just like with all new Mazdas. I mean, just look at that. It started with the CX-5, and then now it's going to the other models as well. I think that looks amazing, and people will turn to look at it.
How could you resist these eyes? Difficult. Very difficult. Or the brake lights, in just a general shape, or this red color. With the optional package, you can choose this lovely white leather. As standard, you'll get Mazda's awesome fit and finish.
Let's take it for a ride. Yes, I know. You know, now that I have tempered my expectations about the Skyactiv X, because if you've seen my video where I first drove the Skyactiv X engine in the Mazda 3, I was a little bit disappointed, but a big part of that was because I was so completely hyped up about it and expecting something absolutely revolutionary. But let me just go back a little bit and say that the engine is revolutionary on a technology level. I mean, it's a petrol engine that kind of works like a diesel a little bit. And nobody else has been able to do that before, like Mazda has now. So that's quite an achievement. But it's not revolutionary in a driving sense, which is both a good and a bad thing, I suppose. It's good because you don't really get an engine that's completely different than anything we're used to nowadays. So, you know, you can sit in it and drive it fine. You'll be completely fine. But also bad because, well, like I said, I was expecting a lot more power, a lot more torque basically, just like a diesel engine, and also the engine to be much more frugal than it is. But, like I said, now that I have tempered my expectations, let's look at it again in a slightly more objective light, not the sunlight that's now blinding you. So first of all, I would like to mention that there is a difference between this engine and the one in the Mazda 3 that I tested. it's not on paper. Technically, it is an identical engine. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder Skyactiv X, identical to the one in Mazda 3, but for some reason, I don't know whether this CX-30 has less sound insulation, or there's something slightly different with this engine maybe. I can actually hear the diesel clackering this time, the knocking, every now and then. It's not something that would make me go, oh, this is horrible, I can't drive this. It's very quiet, but you can actually hear, it's perceptible. Whereas in the Mazda 3, I couldn't. So perhaps the Mazda 3 has slightly better sound insulation. So that's a bit of an intriguing thing to start off with. The last time, or well, the first time I tested this engine, I wasn't overly impressed with the consumption. I was really expecting it to be even better than the already very good petrol engine, the 2-liter petrol engine. Because with the normal Skyactiv G engine, the 2-liter one, I was very surprised by how frugal it was, especially because it could shut off 2 cylinders and work on just the rest of the 2 cylinders, and it was about 1 liter to 1.5 liters per 100 kilometers difference, and that was quite interesting. So I was expecting the Skyactiv X to be even better, but not really. However, I was told, and I saw this, I was waiting for it to shut off 2 cylinders to be even more frugal than the G, but it doesn't do so, ever. And apparently the Skyactiv X engines don't actually do that. They do not have cylinder deactivation. I don't know why, there must be a technical reason to it. I suppose it just wouldn't work very well then, or maybe it wouldn't be as economical, but yeah, it doesn't. On one hand, perhaps that's good, because cylinder deactivation in the past with other brands has been quite problematic. I don't know how it'll be with Mazda, but on the other hand, it's kinda, darn, I wish it did have it, so it would have some ridiculous low consumption, like 2 liters per 100 kilometers or something. But anyway, enough waffle. Now that I can look at a little bit more objectively, I think it's quite good. I think it's actually very good. The highest fuel consumption I saw in the CX-30 was 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers, which for a 2-liter petrol engine is actually not bad. And the lowest I saw was 5.5, so 1 liter less per 100 kilometers. Now, if you'll be driving very economically, I would say 5.5 is realistic. If you'll be driving normally, but not sportily, 6.5 is your number. So what about power? Well, this is not a diesel with its torque. However, bloody hell. Not really sure why I was disappointed in this engine the first time around. And I really do feel bad about it, because I like Mazda so much. I like them. Not to an extent that I would just go, oh, everything is the best with Mazda. No, it isn't, but they are very, very, very good cars. However, like I said, I feel bad for slagging off this engine the last time for its power. Yes, it doesn't have the torque of a diesel. However, if you want to drive sportily, put it above, let's say, 5,000. I'm at 4,000 now. Put my foot down. 5,000. Oh my God. I think it's that supercharger that adds a lot more power at around 5,000. You can actually feel it. It's almost a bit like a tiny turbo that kicks in, and it's lovely. And you know what? This actually goes well. It's a CX-30, it's not even a Mazda 3. I think I was so concentrated, so focused on trying to get this engine to use as little fuel as possible the first time around I tested it, that I never really put my foot down and gave it the beans. And now that I do, it's actually fantastic. You know what we're gonna do? Let's give it the beans on the freeway so we can actually see what it can do. Third and 60, let's put it into second, 3,500. put my foot down. $110, $120, $130, $140 in third. Yeah, I like this engine. I like this engine a lot, which presents me with a bit of a, well, conundrum. I can either admit I was a bit wrong the first time around and that I'm ashamed of it, which I am, or I can just shut up and say that this is a fine engine. I wasn't completely sure about it the first time around. I was thinking it's a bit too expensive for what you get, but now that I've had time, it had time to simmer in my mind and ferment a little bit, and now I can bottle it and serve it up to you. I would say, if you have the money, yes, I would go for it. If you're thinking of a normal petrol or a Skyactiv X, it's a little bit more frugal. It's fantastically torquey for normal driving. It's not sportily torquey down low, but you can drive in sixth at around 1,000 RPMs, 50 kilometers per hour through a city normally, and it's going to be very, very pleasant because it's so quiet and nice. And like I said, if you put it around 5,000 RPM and up, it's fun. It is fun. You can actually believe that it has 180-ish horsepower. So I'm sorry, Mazda. I don't know what came over me. Never again must I hype myself so much that I expect something unachievable, I suppose, in my mind. So, good Mazda. So what about the CX-30 that I haven't even mentioned in this test, pretty much? Well, with the Skyactiv X, or without it, it's lovely. I'm not a huge fan of crossovers, but it's a lovely car. It drives just nicely. The manual gear shifter is lovely, mechanical. It's a Mazda. The steering wheel, everything. I mean, the attention to detail really shows. It's a very pleasant car to be in, just like the rest of the Mazdas. But with the Skyactiv X, it's perhaps even lovelier because you have the slightly better fuel economy and the nice torque low down for city driving, and of course the power when you need it, when you want to have a bit of fun. And I did have quite a bit of fun. I like the acceleration in this. So yeah, I mean, I've already tested the CX-30, not with this engine, but it's just a lovely car, despite me not being a fan of these types of vehicles. But it is nice. I mean, I drove it on the motorway, I drove it in cities, I drove it like this on normal roads, and really no complaints. It's very well equipped. This is the top of the line model, of course, but it's got everything. It's got heated seats, heated steering wheel, it's got leather upholstery, it's got a head-up display, it's got the big infotainment, navigation, and all of that. I mean, just what are the competitors doing? Or what are they going to do against stuff like this, against modern Mazdas? I'm not really sure.
Mazda CX-30 with the Skyactiv X starts at €25,700. For the all-wheel drive version, you'll be paying an extra €3,600. The top-of-the-line model with automatic transmission, all-wheel drive, and practically all extras, you'll be lighter for just over €36,000.